Hey Action Force fans, thanks for checking out this next video in our Road to 100 series where we are counting down the 100 items in the Valaverse Action Force line, all leading to the reveal of our 100th Action Force item that will debut this year. So the last video we meant to put Series 2 in there, and a little snafu happened and it didn't get into the cutting room. But that's okay because we're going to add Series 2 to this video. So let's get on into Series 2, some prototypes and exclusives. Let's go check them out. All right guys, here we are with Series 2. We're going through items 21 through 31 of our Road to 100 series. So starting off, first item in Series 2, we had version 2 of Sergeant Slaughter. Sarge did so well for us that he wanted to do a second figure. So we whipped up this cool design of him on the battlefield, and he came with a lot of extra gear. Cool. He's got his campaign cover, another Marine cover hat. He's got extra vest, backpack. This figure had a ton of gear with him. So this was a really cool version of Sarge. It's probably my favorite version of the Sarges that we've done. I mean, you guys definitely love this figure also. Yeah, so starting us off, got Sergeant Slaughter version 2. All right, next up, we have another member of the Action Force team. This is Rollout. Rollout is sort of like, the second in command of Action Force. He also kind of likes giving Condor a hard time. So, bringing Rollout in was cool to do, and, rounding out the Action Force team with new members is always fun. So there he is. Second figure as part of Series 2 is Rollout. All right, so this next figure was a really cool one to do. This right here, third figure up in Series 2, this is Duster. Now, Duster is based on a real-world retired Green Beret Special Forces member, and that is Tim Kennedy. He's also an ex-MMA fighter. I was always a big fan of Tim, so being able to get him in the line was very cool because it allowed us to bring in like real-world military operatives, which, as you'll see as we go on, it's not the the last time we're going to do it. So it was great having Tim in the line. We got to go to Texas and film some really cool stuff with Tim and the figure. I got to show him the figure for the first time, so that was really fun. Duster's a great figure. He's another one that did really well. Sold a ton of him. You guys like this figure. A lot of people say he's really good for customizing too, just because of his his gear and loadout and stuff like that. So there he is. Duster. All right, we've got our first bad guy in Series 2. This is an extension of the Swarm team. These are the Scarabs. Now, the Scarabs are sort of like the heavy hitters of the Swarm units. They're the ones kicking down the doors, with the heavy weapons. So this one was fun to do. Having that cool translucent head was something I'd always wanted to do on a figure, and it came out great on him. So I was really happy with the way this turned out. I know you guys have been asking me to reissue the Scarabs because he was such a great figure. So I don't know, maybe we will down the road. He is a very cool figure. So there you go, Scarabs. This figure right here is probably my favorite in Series 2. This is Trigger. Trigger was another character that I had created very early on in Action Force. I wanted this rugged member, that carried a big heavy machine gun, backwards hat, real cool guy you want to like sit down and have a beer with. So that's always how I envisioned Trigger. He was another one that was like sort of like the sleeper of Series 2. He is one that might get another version down the road. He is definitely a very cool character. He's also like Condor's best friend. So he's a integral part of the story, especially Condor's story. If you guys have read Action Force Mission Files number 5, you'll see that Trigger does play a big role with Condor in that issue. So there he is, my favorite, Trigger. The next bad guy that's up in Series 2 is a first for a different bad guy team. So these are the Garrison Cavalry. They are the troopers from the Garrison. The Garrison is the sort of the evil military arm of New Colonia. They're Carrick's sort of henchmen, if you want to call them that. But I wanted to get these guys in your hands and sort of help you build your Garrison squad. This is a great figure. I love the color scheme. That deep red and that gray really work. And we definitely have more Garrison troopers coming very soon, especially in 2024. So keep an eye out for that. But this is the first one, the first Garrison Cavalry. All right, this figure I get a little sentimental about. This figure is very meaningful to me. This is Desert Rat. And for those of you that don't know, which all of you probably should know, Desert Rat is based off of Tony Roberts, who Tony Roberts is a YouTube personality. He does Analog Toys, great channel. Also, he is a retired British Special Forces member. So another real world military, personnel member that we can get into the line. But just the way that I got Tony in the line means a lot, and the fact that like he and I are very, very close friends, probably best friends, it meant a lot for me to get him in here. And it all came about, our mutual friend Michael French from Retro Blasting, he got me and Tony connected. Tony loved what I was doing with the Action Force line. And as Tony and I grew to become really good friends, I said, it'd be really great to get him in the line because I know it would mean so much to him because of, him growing up with Action Force, the Palatoy version of Action Force, and, his channel is dedicated to that. And I just think it would mean so much to him to become an action figure. So we surprised him during an Iconicon, stream where I showed him his figure and his character and the fact that he's named Desert Rat after, a Palatoy figure from the original Action Force line. I think he cried a little bit. But you got to go back and watch that video. It's very cool. But again, it means a lot for me to be able to get Tony in the line. I know it means a lot to him. This is a great figure. So it's really cool to have him as part of the unit. We got him in the comics as well. So, yeah. So this one's special. But there he is, Desert Rat. All right, here we have our first exclusive of Series 2. This is another Big Bad exclusive item. This is the Night Ops Steel Brigade. This has been probably our coolest exclusive to date. Working with Big Bag is great. They are a great partner. So this was our second exclusive with them, and they're very happy with it, and we continue to do more with them. But when I designed this one, I said, wow, that's a really, really cool version of the Steel Brigade. I kind of wanted to keep it, to myself, but it was still cool to be able to give it to them. And I know you guys love this figure. We changed things up a little bit, went all black on the packaging, went really dark on the file card, just to really push that Night Ops motif. But yeah, he's a great one. He's a great one. We should probably do him again, or maybe a female version. So there he is, Big Bad exclusive Night Ops Steel Brigade. It wouldn't be an Action Force line if we didn't bring in a basic trooper. So this is our first basic trooper for Series 2. This is the Delta Trooper. He is, the all green trooper, which I think he's been our most popular one so far. I think because, military green kind of goes with everything. But this is, this is a good one. And I believe somebody, was it this series? Or am I mistaken? Let's pop this one open and see. It is. Okay. So, funny story about this one is Articulated Ninja, that you guys know. He was doing a review of Series 1, and he was not too fond that our basic troopers did not come with a weapon. He felt like it should be a complete figure right out of the box. And I took that comment. I said, that's actually a really good point. So I ended up talking to the factory. I said, hey, last minute, can we get a weapon in with this figure? And we ended up getting, a pistol in with this figure. And, so Articulated Ninja helped enact that change. So now all of our basic troopers all come with a weapon right out of the box. So they are a more complete figure. So thank you, Ninja, for making that comment. I'm glad we were able to enact it in our Series 2 offerings, and now it is just a staple down, moving forward with all of our basic troopers. So there you have it, Delta Trooper, now with a gun. All right, you can't have a Delta Trooper without some Delta gear. So we introduced the first gear pack for Series 2. This is the Delta gear. So it comes with all matching gear for the Delta Trooper. Vest, backpack, helmet, rifle, muzzle flashes, night vision goggles, magazines, pistol, knife, everything you need to go in the battle. This is, super popular because, when you pair this gear up with that Delta Trooper, it looks really, really good. But also this gear looks good on just about every Action Force figure. So there you have it, Delta Gear Pack. We're getting further down the alphabet. We have our third weapons pack. This is Weapons Pack Charlie. This is the only weapons pack in Series 2. It does have a really great range of weapons. Again, another cool box by Troy McKee, who does our packaging. It's cool. Charlie, we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. I'm telling you. As I said in the previous video, we are going to do the entire alphabet of weapons packs. So, Charlie was our third, and it's a really good one. So there it is. Weapons Pack Charlie. Here we have our first Valaverse exclusive item. This was part of Series 1. It didn't debut until a ways after Series 1. I believe it was a convention that we first debuted this, about 6 months after Series 1 came out. But this one was one that I had planned for a long time, and we were been sitting on it, and I was like, we got to get this out because this is such a cool item. This is the Series 1 prototype assortment set. Comes in this awesome shipper box, and it is every single figure that we offered in Series 1 in prototype form. I'm a huge fan of seeing the whole process of how, toys are made, and I thought it might be cool to offer something like this to you guys. So getting a prototype figure was, kind of like a way of saying thank you guys for being such great Action Force fans. So let's see what came in the box. So as I mentioned, this is every single figure that we had offered in Series 1. And first up, the Steel Brigade. As you can see, it's all done in test shot prototype colors. Now the cool thing about this set, it was a limited edition of only 100 of them. So the limited run was only 1 of 100. It's got this, gold foil limited edition 1 of 100 stamp on each figure that comes in the set. So again, you get to see what the figure looks like in its raw form. And all 6 figures are like this. So there's a Steel Brigade, Sarge, we got Sergeant Slaughter. Now the cool thing about Sarge is you get to see how, the figure is broken up into the different molding tools, the big steel molds. So you could see how at the top of his torso was molded in flesh, but then, his bottom sort of waist piece was also molded in flesh because they're in the same tool. And then they painted the waist piece, and then they painted the tank top on him to match the black tank top on his lower part of his torso. So it's just cool to see the breakdown, and this figure is a perfect example of that. Ooh, now we have the Bone Collector. Bone Collector was the first figure I designed in the Action Force line. I think I mentioned that when we were going through Series 1. So there's something very special about Bone Collector to me because he was the first one that I designed. So again, you get to see sort of his mold breakdown and how all the pieces would have been decoed or molded colors. The Action Force leader, Condor. So again, raw form of Condor, very cool to to see his breakdown. He had a lot of great mold colors, and then we did some deco accents on him. So he ended up like benefiting from the way that the tools were broken down into mold colors. So he's a good one. The sleeper, the Series 1 sleeper, I kept telling you guys, Carrick is the one. He's the one. He's going to be the sleeper of Series 1. It turned out he was. So here he is. I thought it was cool that, the color that they ended up molding his helmet in, and then, we wanted it to look metallic, so we ended up using all deco on that helmet as opposed to mold color, because metallic mold colors don't necessarily come out looking very metallic. Deco always will look better metallic painted. So that's what we did with his helmet. But it's still cool to see this sort of like OD green Carrick helmet. I have a couple of those floating around somewhere. They're cool. And last, we ended on a good one. We ended on the Swarm Trooper. The reason this one is so cool and so funny is, one, he's just all yellow, but also because his eyes are, we wanted them to be translucent. The whole head is molded in translucent, so you get to see how the whole head looks in just all translucent yellow before it's painted. So that's what's really cool and special about the Swarm. So this one's a fun one. So if you guys can get this set, definitely get your hands on it. It's fun. It's big time limited edition. Like I said, it's only 100 of these were made. And I think we have just a couple, maybe like 5 or 6 left in our warehouse. So if you missed out on this and you love stuff like this behind the scenes kind of, production of toys, definitely get your hands on this prototype set. Our next exclusive item was a big one because it was the man, Sergeant Slaughter himself. This one was really fun. This is a limited edition of only 100 made of Sergeant Slaughter it was, I'm trying to remember what year, I think it was 2022, Joe Fest 2022. This was our big exclusive of that show. And Sarge was not gonna be there, so we said, all right, well, we gotta try to do something special around Sarge for the people that would have wanted to see Sarge. So I talked with Sarge and we came up with this really cool exclusive where we took the Series 2 Sarge and I had a limited run of 100 of these soft good jackets made for this figure. And then we put Sarge in that soft good jacket, and then we had Sarge come to the Valaverse headquarters, our old office, and he came and he signed all 100 of these figures. So it was great having Sarge in the Valaverse, headquarters signing all these Action Force figures. This one was, a very popular one for that show, sold out at the show. Of course, limited edition of 100. So if you have one of these, definitely want to hang on to it. This is a special one. And the cool part about when Sarge was at the Valaverse headquarters, I had this, this loose figure just out, showing him what the figure was. And this was one of the prototype jackets. This was one jacket we had made just to test the concept of it. And while he was just there, he just took the figure and he decided, hey, I just want to sign the back of it. So it was kind of funny that he ended up doing that. With, I didn't ask him, but now it's something very meaningful that, I have this cool exclusive Sarge figure that he signed for me. Our next item up, our next exclusive item, was another sort of experimental item that was actually very fun to do. This is the Mail Away Covert Ops Condor. Now, me as a kid growing up, 80s and 90s, I mailed away for everything. If it was on a cereal box, if it was on the back of a package, I mailed away for it. I thought it was such a cool idea of, mailing something in, your form, your points, what have you, and then waiting, sitting there waiting the 6 to 8 weeks, and then getting this cool exclusive item. There was something very special about that. And I feel like it's sort of lost in toys nowadays. I think, the logistics of it, I feel like are a little out there. So, but I said, what, I think we can do it. And I wanted to try to do it. I said, let's do it. If it works, great. We'll keep doing it. If not, hey, at least we could say we did a mail away exclusive item. Now, it all kind of started because on the back of all the packages, starting from Series 1, we had action points. And I said, I'm going to put these on there because I don't know what we're going to do with them, but we're eventually going to do something down the road. And everyone kept asking, what are we going to do with the action points? What are we going to do with the action points? And I said, it's coming, don't worry. I hadn't had a plan yet. Now, the plan came from a very funny story. Those of you that know him, you've seen him at shows. I've talked about him on our 3POA podcast. Jordan, very good friend of mine. He has been helping, fulfill orders and help me work out a lot of things with fulfillment since the very, very beginning. He was here one time at the old Valaverse headquarters, and we may have had a few adult beverages and, a screwed up dinner order. And we were just laughing, joking around, and I think it came to, what are we going to do with the action points, because still hadn't had an idea. And we were talking about a favorite movie of mine, which this character is sort of a loose homage to. And it kind of just happened that way organically, us joking around. And before you know it, we were like, well, can we make a figure that looks like that? and I just started cobbling together pieces of this figure and seeing if it worked. And I took pictures of it, and because of the time difference, I was able to text those pictures to my project manager in China and say, hey, can we do this? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. That's a great idea. And then I said, okay, well, it'd be cool if we could put sunglasses on him. So can we take the sunglasses that came with Sergeant Slaughter, and we clip the stems off of them and glue it to his shirt? And within a couple of minutes, he had one mocked up for me, and he texted me back. And I said, that's perfect. And that's sort of how Covert Ops Condor came to be. And I love those kind of things where an idea will happen so organically like that in like a fun moment. Jordan and I tend to come up with some really fun ideas when we're driving to conventions, or he's hanging at the office. But so that's why I love keeping Jordan around. He's good for to get my creative juices flowing. But that's the story behind Covert Ops Condor. You mailed in your action points, send them in, and then we sent this out to you. So you didn't have to wait 6 to 8 weeks like you did back in the 80s and 90s. We got these out pretty quick to you after we got your points. But you guys seem to really enjoy it. It's cool seeing this version of Condor in his undercover sort of attire. He comes with his own unique file card talking about what his mission was when he was undercover. Kind of a throwback to these old mailer boxes. And because this item was so popular, we are planning our second action point mail away item. So stay tuned for that one. So this next exclusive item was something a little different for us and in Valaverse and Action Force. It was a different scale. It was the first time we were doing a 3 3/4 inch action figure. And we wanted a way to celebrate, what had come before. And for those of you who don't know, Action Force was originally done in the 80s through a company called Palatoy. And they were on cards like this. Very iconic toys, great line. And the original designer, Bob Breakin, he worked on all these. He has praised what we have been doing, calls it a continuation of his Action Force line, which I couldn't be any more honored to hear something like that. So I wanted a way to sort of like pay that back, what came before. So we decided to take the essence of these Palatoy Action Force figures and offer an exclusive 3 3/4 inch vintage Desert Rat. Desert Rat was a figure that was part of the original Palatoy line. And Tony Roberts, who is Desert Rat in Series 2, it was a great way for him, who was such a huge fan of the original Palatoy Action Force, to become a figure in the line and be named after one of the original characters from the series. So we thought, well, it makes sense to do a vintage 3 3/4 inch Desert Rat in that same retro styling. And this was everything I wanted it to be. It ended up looking very cool. I teamed up with Stan Solo Creations, who does amazing reproductions of 3 3/4 inch figures. And his work is so fantastic. I said, hey, Chris, I need your help with this one. And he and Tony are also very good friends. So it made for kind of a perfect mixture. And he helped get in his factory where he has his figures done, which are very good at doing this retro style 3 3/4 inch figure. And they delivered this perfect vintage version of Desert Rat. And as you can see, looks like he's on that card pulled right out of the 80s. He's got his file card on the back. And also, the original figures had these, sort of these white, almost like emblems on the front that had like different exclusive offerings and things like that. And I thought it'd be very cool if we could have Tony sign every single one of these figures, since he was going to be at Joe Fest that year, and this was the exclusive we were going to have for 2023. And Tony, again, came here to the office at this table and signed all of these vintage Desert Rats. It was cool seeing him with a pile of Desert Rats, signing them all. But he did, so every time you order one of these vintage carded Desert Rats, you get it signed by Desert Rat himself. So this one was really fun. So we ordered we offered the carded version of this figure, but then we also because we knew you guys wouldn't want to pull that figure off that nice, gorgeous card, we had offered a loose version of the Desert Rat figure. So a lot of you bought both of them because you didn't want to open that card and you have a nice carded display version. But now you have a little loose Desert Rat to fit into your collection. So this one's special to me because of my friendship with Tony and being able to sort of have him in the Action Force line as a 6-inch figure, but also in the line as one of these vintage figures that he grew up with. So definitely a very special place for me with this figure.